What's up, guys? So for this video, it's going to be kind of a long one. This one I'm going to be going over the Forbidden Light expansion, or at least, okay, so for the Japanese side of things, it's usually two expansions that make up one of our own English expansions here in America. So for instance, our Forbidden Light expansion is a combination of Japan's Forbidden Light as well as their Ultra Force set that came out quite a while ago. I think it was already released. But so for this video, I'm going to be going over both of those Japanese expansions to kind of get an idea, or at least a first impression of, what can we expect coming into the meta as we go forward with the new Forbidden Light expansion, because it's bringing in a lot of stuff to the table actually, and I know not a lot has changed much recently, but I think this expansion will definitely kind of start bringing in some new strategies, I'm hoping. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Everything is translated already here on PokeBeach, which is what I'm using, and this is what you're seeing right now. So I'm going to be scrolling through. I'm not going to go over every single Pokemon. That would just be kind of ridiculous. But I'm going to try to hit at least the notable ones that, might be kind of interesting, would be pretty strong, or what I think, might be a good rogue deck, and, things like that. So everything is just purely, of course, my opinions, my thoughts. Whether you agree or not, it's a whole different story. Feel free to disagree, or comment whatever you like to comment. And that's the whole point of it, really, is that it's open discussion. Usually things always change with the card game, and these cards always bring about new strategies, new decks, different perspectives. Still is the thing, because people may not, or for instance, the big example, Zoroark GX. Everyone goes crazy for Zoroark GX. #1 card in the meta right now, besides Lele. But I don't really care for Zoroark GX. It's not something that I need to find, like, okay, do I have spot in my deck? Do I have room in my deck for this? I'm not gonna go that nuts for it. So without further ado, that's another rant for another story, or another rant for another day. Let's go ahead and get started. I'll just go ahead and start with the Forbidden Light translation, since they came out just recently, and we'll work our way from there. The Alolan Executor, this is like, what, our fourth Alolan Executor we've gotten, is kind of an interesting one. For 1 energy, for which is pretty good, it's a 20 plus damage, so this attack does 20 more damage for each type of basic energy in your discard pile, so up to 5, so your maximum really is 120 for 1 energy. That's actually really good. It's a stage 1, HP is at 160. It's a really strong card, but the problem is trying to figure out how to get up to 5 different types of basic energy cards into your discard pile. To build a deck mainly on trying to get that going seems a little, I don't know, a little unrealistic, but hey, maybe someone can find a way. I know in expanded it's definitely gonna be easier, just because they have battle compressor, but we'll see. Next up, we have Vivillon. Is that how you say it? Vivillon, something like that. This one's kind of a okay-ish card. It's only interesting because it does. It puts your opponent's active Pokemon to poison. It's asleep first and then poison. So if your opponent can't wake up and they're still poisoned, they gotta find some way to retreat, and it's just very beneficial. But what's kind of cool is that you can kind of bring this out because of these two guys, the Scatterbugs. So for the first Scatterbug here, if you go second during your first turn, you can use this ability, search your deck for a Spupa and a Vivillon, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Basically like Alolan Vulpix's Beacon Search, but like a one-time use, and it's for very specific cards. It's just a nice little, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Accelerator, or speed deck to try to get your Vivillon up and going. But then you have this other one, flip a coin of heads, search your deck for a Vivillon, play it and put it onto this Pokemon to evolve it to shuffle your deck. So essentially you just basically get to skip the Spupa line. It's its own built-in rare candy, which is actually pretty sweet. So if you manage to get that going, that'd be great. Next up, nothing too notable here. Go Goat. There's got to be a good Go Goat in the future. Here we have Pheromosa as a non-GX card, 110 HP, which is still pretty good for a basic, but fairly low for a ultra basic, I guess you could say. The attacks are a bit odd. So for 1 energy, do high jump kick, 20 damage. Nothing really to say there. It's a second attack that's kind of something worth saying. 2 grass energy, 1 colorless, white ray, 90 damage. But if you have 1 prize card remaining, this attack does 90 more damage. I like that it's like, your final, it could be your final battler, your final, go-to attack card. But the attack cost, I just think is kind of odd to put, just to try to figure that out. 2 grass energy, 1 colorless. It's not like a big deal, but sure, you can get it going or have it ready, like on the side, but your opponent's going to eventually realize what you're up to. So they could easily knock out Pheromosa, and 110 HP is, it's better than like the 1670, baby basic Pokemon, but it's still an easy knockout. So I don't know how much play this will see. It could be a nice little tech card in a grass deck, maybe in the Tapu Bulu deck, but nothing really worth noting, or at least going, crazy over. Alola Marowak's pretty nice that we're getting another one. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like, then shuffle your deck. What's really cool about this is that it's a free attack. You do not have to attach any energies for this one. So you can essentially start like, accelerating energy onto your Pokemon's bench, or onto your Pokemon bench, as many turns as this guy can survive. 120 is not ideal. If you put a dumbbells on it, I guess goes to 160, so he could last probably a turn or 2, but nothing too crazy. He does have a pretty neat little attack here, Alola Circle. So this attack does 20 damage times the number of Pokemon you have in play with Alolan in its name. So if you have a full bench of Alola Pokemon, then you would do, what, 100? Yeah, just a straight up 100 Pokemon. But then you also count yourself, so 120. 120 total for a double colorless is pretty nice. If you go expanded and do Skyfield, that's what, 3 more, so 60, so 180 for just a double colorless, which is awesome. But just the fact that a lot of these Alolan Pokemon don't have a whole lot of HP unless you want to go the GX route. But then you're talking Alolan Muck, Alolan Golem, and then the energy cost. I guess you just got to be careful with it, because when you play Alolan Muck and Alolan Golem GXs in the same deck, you're dealing with Dark and Lightning energy. And even though Alolan Marowak, takes colorless, which is fine, you're still dealing with 2 different types of energy. So you would have to find like Alolan Pokemon to either attack for free or have colorless energy cost. And I think right now Alolan Marowak is probably the strongest one so far. There's the Alolan Sand/Shore that has the free energy where your opponent takes 6 damage counters if it gets hit, but I think there's gonna be some more Alolan Pokemon in the future coming out for this that's really gonna help this out. So this is something just kind of keep an eye on. Might be a nice little tech card in the future. We are definitely getting a Fennekin line, which is kind of cool. Delphox here has a really nice ability. Once during your turn, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon burn. Now, in my head, what I thought of right away was the Infernape, because then if you do the burn with Delphox, then Infernape has that 6 damage counters in between turns. So it's kind of like a nice little mix of 2 stage 2s, 2 starter Pokemon that I feel like work well with each other. Something I might try out in the future. It's gonna be a really clunky deck. It might be just like a terrible deck, just because 2 stage 2s, rare candies. It's a lot of deck space to commit to a lot of Pokemon. And then the attack is just basically like any other typical fire attack. 2 fire energy, a double colorless energy, fire spin, 150 damage, discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. So you could essentially, I think you could, trade off the double colorless for it, but 150. So if it's burn, 170 because the burn goes in first before your opponent has to flip the coin. But then if you do Infernape, then that goes up to 210 instead of 150. So there's definitely some potential there. And Delphox is pretty cool. I actually like the art to it. It's kind of like an old classic, you know, witch scene kind of picture. I don't know if that made any sense, but it made sense in my head. Yeah, I like it. It looks nice. Then we finally got good old Pyroar, Lysander's Pyroar to be exact, back. He's got an interesting ability. So whenever your opponent plays an item card or supporter card, prevent all effects of that card done to this Pokemon. So essentially, this Pokemon can't be Lysandered or Guzmud. I can't. Pokemon Catcher, I guess, won't have any effect on it. But what there's a stadium card. That's right. That could have comboed well with this, but there's actually kind of a drawback to it, which I'll talk about once we get there. So for 1 fire, 2 colorless energy, dominate feint, 80 plus damage. If Lysander Labs is in play, this attack does 60 more damage. So essentially 140. And that's all I'm gonna say there, because there's a catch with playing Lysander Labs. So you understand why I say 140 is the max that you can do with this card. And the fact that your opponent can't really play item cards or supported cards against this, I guess it's nice. It's an okay card. I don't see anything really too special or too worthy of it. And then we got my boys, my lovely frogs that are just going to dominate the meta. No, I really don't think it's going to be that spectacular of a deck. It is a very hard deck to pull off, but nevertheless, I'm still gonna try to make this deck because I just love Greninja. I love the art to this too. It is just all that water all over the place. It's just beautiful. I already did a video on this, so please make sure that you go back and look at my video because I just kind of went crazy talking about this card. I love this card so much. Overall, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. The Frogadier does the same thing, except that it does 2 damage counters. So when you start with Froakie, 2 damage counters for Frogadier. Next turn, 3 damage counters. So essentially, just doing 5 just when you're evolving. And then you have your basic attacks. 1 water, double colorless energy, haze slash, 110 damage. Shuffle this Pokemon, all cards attached to it, into your deck, so that way you can kind of repeat this whole process. Then you have Shadow Assassin GX. This attack does 130 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And you can't apply weakness and resistance usually with attacks like that. And it says it right there. Don't apply weakness and resistance. I had to make a comment correction on my video when I did this because I thought it did more than Entei GX did. But this actually does less than Entei GX. So I'm not particularly a fan of this GX card so much, but if you need to snipe for 130, it's nice to know that you at least have that option there. Alright, now we have Clawitzer. Clawitzer's always been kind of an interesting card because it sets itself up usually, but it's just kind of always hard to pull off. So there's the one from, I want to say it was from Fates Collide, but there was a Clawitzer break where for 1 energy you set yourself up to do 120 more on your attacks the next turn. And after looking at this one, it's the same thing. So for 1 water energy, during your next turn, this Pokemon sharpshooting attack does 120 damage. Sharpshooting, this attack does 40 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So you can basically just snipe off. He's a sniper. That's essentially what he is. He's a sniper. Does 120 to whoever you choose, assuming that you can get the standby attack going and not get KO'd. So, it's fun and kind of cool to read, but I don't think it's very doable in a deck. Sorry, drinking some Sprite there. Next up, we got another fossil Pokemon. We got Amora and Aurorus. Kind of a neat little card there. It'll be kind of a cool holographic look. So for 1 water, double colorless, Frost Wall, 50 damage during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's evolved Pokemon. So basically, it copies Glaceon's Freeze Ray. I believe it does a little less damage, this one, because I think Freeze Ray did 70. But it's always nice to have that option, so something to consider in the future in case in this meta that we go very evolution heavy. You know, you might want to somehow tech an Aurora somewhere in a deck, and especially, obviously in a water deck if you can. And then for 2 water energies, double colorless, Blizzard Burn, 150 damage. Pretty standard. I guess with Choice Band, I could do a 180, but the attack cost is a little too high for my taste. Its first one is probably the main reason why you'll play it, so just kind of keep that in mind. Then we have Bergmite and Avalog. This one's these two overall are kind of, I don't know, like a lot of these cards, they're nice to play. Like, again, they have interesting abilities and things like that, but they just don't hit the numbers. So for this one, smash 10 damage, discard a stadium card in play. If you do, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So instant paralysis, as long as there's a stadium card, you have to obviously keep replenishing that, but then you're only really doing 10 damage, so you're just kind of chipping away at your opponent. Sure, you could say, hey, this could be a great starter Pokemon, just keep doing that, you know, until your board's set up, but then you have to make sure that there's a stadium card in play, and if there's not, then you got nothing left. So, again, awesome secondary effect, but it's the condition that I am not a fan of. But hey, can't have everything. Ground Freeze, 80 damage. Your opponent can't play stadium cards from their hand during their next turn. So that's kind of nice. I don't know if we really need that right now, but again, something to consider in the future. Volcanion Prism Star, I can't remember if I uploaded my video on this one or not. I don't think I did. I think that was the time when I got the flu, so I just kind of forgot about it. It's got a nice ability. Once during your turn, you may discard a water energy from your hand. If you do, your opponent switches their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. So it's essentially like a Lysander, but they get to pick. Yeah, they pick. I guess if you can't handle the active, I mean, I guess it's nice to have that option there. 160 is kind of beefy, so obviously he's going to sit on the bench for a while. He does have a nice little attack here. It is for 3 water energy, which is not ideal, but for 100 damage, and then you do 20 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So that's kind of nice. I feel like might combo well with the Greninjas, but only time will tell. Next we have Helioptile and Heliolisk. I know there's a video out there that's kind of glorifying this card a little bit. It's interesting enough. 3 colorless energy, Shockwave, 80 damage, flip a coin if heads, the defending Pokemon is now paralyzed. The fact that you get a lightning attacker for as a tech card, because it's 0 colorless, so you can put this in any deck, is kind of nice. 80 damage is okay with a Choice Band. They're doing 110. That at least KOs a Ho-Oh GX with the weakness. And then Empoleon is going to get KO'd as well. But those are the only 2 really relevant Lightning Weak Pokemon that we have to worry about. And I don't think it's a huge deal right now. But again, something to kind of consider off to the side if you need a Lightning tech. That would be the one to go. Then we have Esper and Meowstic. I don't think... Well, okay, so this one's got an attack, movement energy attached to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to another one of their Pokemon. I guess you could play around with strong energy from Buzzwole decks, but assuming that Esper lasts, you know, that it's kind of, it's again, interesting in writing, but I don't see it, you know, obviously being a staple in any deck. And then this has got the basic psychic attack, 30 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. We have plenty of those. If I'm going to do a stage 1 for psychic, I'd rather do the Espeon GX. Alright, then we have Doublade, Aegislash, which is actually kind of cool. So it's a stage 2, which kind of sucks, yes. But for 1 energy, it's got an attack called Record of Death. I wonder what they're going to call it here in English. But if the defending Pokemon is damaged by an attack during your next turn, it is knocked out. So you basically set this up. It's your opponent's turn. If they can't find any way to retreat, then coming back to you, you just do any attack at all, and then it's just done. Like you could have like a little Bergmite do your little 10 damage, and then boom, there you go. You knocked out a Metagross GX or something. I don't know, something crazy like that. But it's kind of neat. I'm wondering if anyone can pull that off. I don't know if I'm gonna try to do that, but it's just I like it. I like it a lot. I just wish it was a little bit easier to manage. Gotta like block all retreats somehow, block all Guzmas and Acerolas and everything else that we have going. That's the biggest problem, is that we got ways out of things like that in special conditions. Alright, Malamar, I think we talked about this before. Once during your turn, you may attach a Psychic Energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. Nice Psychic Energy Accelerator. Definitely going to combo well with the Necrozma GX as well as the Ultra Necrozma GX, which I think we're going to see later. So this one's definitely going to see some play for sure. I have a good feeling about that. Dragalge has an ability that is similar to the Poison Barb tool. So if it gets attacked, then the opponent becomes poisoned. So it's kind of cool to have, I guess. Let's see, we hear Hoopa gets your item cards from your deck, but then you have to make sure, I guess, or you have to be hopeful that your opponent doesn't end. Oh, you're just loving those donuts. Look at that. Cubone, Pancham, Binacle, Barbarical. Trying to see what else. Okay. Oh, this one's a good one too. Tyrantrum. Not only is he a cool looking T-Rex, he's got a really cool ability. If you have the same amount or fewer Pokemon in play than your opponent, this Pokemon's attacks do 60 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, and it takes 30 less damage from attacks. So you do more and you take less, which is amazing. So it has a crunch attack for 2 fighting, 1 colorless, 100 damage, and you get to discard 1 energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. With that ability, though, if you can set it up, then it does 160, choice span 190. And if you can't even still KO your opponent, well, at least you have the satisfaction of getting rid of an energy card at the very least. But you also take 30 less, so 160 HP now becomes basically like 190. And if you combo this with the Shiny Legend Celebi, this Tyrunt actually has got a nice little basic attack here. So for 1 energy crunch, 20 damage, and if you flip heads, then you get to discard that energy, or you can do Hammer In for 40 for just 2 fighting energy. Regardless, it's just nice to have a low energy attack, especially like this one. You put in what, Regirocks, or even the new, there's a new oh my gosh, what is it? The Carbink? No, Diancie. There's a Diancie Prism card that does 20 more damage for all of your fighting type Pokemon. So this is going to be very good. I feel like someone can make a good deck out of this. And it's going to be just a rogue deck. You know, obviously nothing like, you know, going to conquer the world, but it's something to watch out for sure. Hawlucha, there's nothing to say about this. In fact, like, I don't understand why they would do this. 3 energy cost, 80 damage. This attack's damage is reduced by 20 for each energy in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. Why? I just don't get it. Sure, a lot of people go for the free retreaters, but you're not hitting anyone really relevant, especially for 80 damage. Like Tapu Koko promo has 110, and he's got resistance to fighting. Like, I don't understand what Pokemon would this be targeting, and why for 3 energy? This should really just be for 1, but they put 3. I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm just not seeing. I love the art to it. You know, he's doing his usual Hawlucha pose, but man, this attack. And then there's this one too. This one, Earthworm, don't apply weakness and resistance for damage from this Pokemon's attacks. Why? Why? If it's a don't apply resistance, then heck yeah, we got something good here. But no, you don't even get to apply weakness. So even if you're up against a Zorua, you can't knock it out unless they have an Ultra Beast, which that's part of its attack. So 30 plus damage. If your opponent has any Ultra Beast in play, this attack does 30 more damage. But you can't apply. It's just trash. I'm sorry. I just don't like it. Zygarde is a good card as well. 1 fighting, 2 colorless, Calm Strike, 60 plus damage. If you have used your GX attack this game, this attack does 60 more damage. So you do 120. A nice little Zoroark GX counter, especially if you're gonna play the Zygarde GX deck, which I made a video about earlier. You know, a non-GX one prize card Pokemon to have for that 120 damage is actually pretty nice. So something to keep in mind if you want to attack into the Zygarde GX deck, which we did a video on already. Double colorless, 50 damage. You get to attach 2 fight energy from your discard pile onto this Pokemon, which sets up your Landgraf attack for that same cost, 4 energy cost, 130 damage. And then you have your GX attack, which you are basically doing 150, and then you're also immune from your Pokemon GX, or from your opponent's Pokemon GX and EX Pokemon. So definitely an awesome card. I think a lot of people are going to try to build a decks around this, and I'm excited to see what people bring out with that. Then there's a Nancy Prism Star I told you about. You can't, no, that's not the one I want to read. Ability, Princess Veil. If this Pokemon is on your bench, your fighting Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Definitely a bench sitter. Definitely one card. Everybody's gonna attack into their fighting decks. You just have to. Like, why wouldn't you not have that extra 20 damage? Lycanroc. So I think this is our first. Oh man, what's it called? Our first. It's not. Is it Dusk? Okay, so there's Dusk Lycanroc. There's Midnight Form Lycanroc. Dawn? Is this Dawn? I don't remember anymore. It's the new Lycanroc that was revealed not too long ago for Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Has an interesting attack for 2 energy. Dangerous Road, 20 plus damage. This attack does 20 more damage for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So essentially 120 damage for a full bench. Reminds me of the Zoroark from, I want to say, Breakthrough, but just not as hard-hitting as that one. So, kind of cool. Maybe a nice little tech into a Lycanroc deck. Let's see what else we got here. Pangoro. Yveltal, we did a video on already. Absorb Life, nothing too crazy to really say. Evil Sonic wasn't that great either, 100 damage, but the GX attack, if your opponent's active Pokemon has exactly 4 damage counters on it, it is knocked out. So kind of a cool, what's the word I'm looking a nice little, another tech card for dark decks. We have the non-GX Guzzlord, and I love how they always have his cards like just printed with his mouth open like 24/7, like just endless like abyss, this vortex. 4 dark energy, Keen's Valley, 160 damage. If you have 6, 4, or 2 prize cards remaining, discard the top 10 cards from your deck. So you obviously only want to use this when you have 5, 3, or 1 prize card remaining to kind of get that last KO or those easy KOs. Because 160 damage is pretty harsh. That even knocks out a lot of Stage 2 non-GX Pokemon. And if you put a Choice Band in, it's knocking out a lot of relevant GX Pokemon like Buzzwole and Tapu Lele. So definitely something to kind of consider when making dark decks, if you can find a way to make it work with that 4 energy cost. Then we have Flabébé. This Pokemon can evolve the turn it was played, if it's first turn of the player going second. But even if you evolve it, what do we got here? Floette. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon, then switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Florges. Once during your turn. Oh, this is the dragon resistant one. You may flip a coin. Of heads, put an item card from your discard pile on the top of your deck. And then Misguard, 70 damage during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from Dragon Pokemon. This actually has become a little bit more relevant because in another video I'm going to actually kind of go over a lot of the new Dragon stuff that has been revealed for the new expansion coming out after this. So definitely something to kind of keep an eye out for sure. Sylveon, nothing really to say there. Dedenne, I know, kind of a nice little tech card for double colorless. If you have a lightning Pokemon on your bench, this attack does 30 more, so you essentially could do 60 for double colorless energy on a very basic Pokemon. Could KO a Piplup, I guess, right away. But nothing, I don't know, nothing really else to say about that. Klefki, Xerneas GX we talked about already too. Run through 20 damage to the bench. Aurora Horn 120 standard. Sanctuary GX, move all damage counters from each of your Pokemon to your opponent's active Pokemon. Very good GX attack, especially if you want to heal as well as also damage your opponent at the same time. So very nice GX. Again, another tech card for Fairy decks. Then we have our good old Gumi Gudra, Gumi Sliggoo Gudra line. Let's see. This one's kind of neat in the fact that your opponent has to play an extra energy card to do their attacks. So to have to waste like maybe a double colorless or something like that to just KO a Gumi. It's kind of a nice little troll, a nice little meme, like, hey, haha, you have to do this, and then I'm probably going to KO you on the next turn. So, kind of cool. The Gudra, I want to say, I did a video, I can't remember if I uploaded it though. Hydration, whenever you attach a water energy from your hand to this Pokemon, you heal 20 damage from this Pokemon, which is nice. I kind of wish it was a little bit more, but it's nice to have that ability there. The problem is, though, it's not just strictly water attacks you have to kind of deal with. You have to also deal with fairy energy because the attack cost is 1 water, 1 fairy, 1 colorless. And then if you do 80 damage, this Pokemon is, if the Pokemon was healed during the turn, this attack does 80 more damage. But you have to attach a water energy every time to heal this Pokemon. So it's a weird combo. It makes sense with Gudra. It's just not very, it's just clunky. It's just very, you know, confused and discombobulated. I'm not a fan. Ultra Necrozma GX. So this one's kind of a beast. And no pun intended there, really. It's got 2 attacks, only 2 attacks. Both deal with just 1 psychic, 1 metal energy. Its main attack, Photon Geyser, 20 damage, discard all psychic energy from this Pokemon. This attack does any more damage for each energy card discarded this way. So you only really have to worry about the 1 metal energy, and you can load in as many psychic energy as you want, but obviously be kind of reservative there. Just reservative? Is that the word? You know what I mean. Conservative about it, because you have to discard all the energy, all the psychic energy to do this attack. But essentially, you know, you just put 2, so for 2 psychic, 1 metal, you're actually doing 180, which is very nice. Choice band makes it 210, which is, I mean, you're hitting all the numbers. But hey, if you want to throw in that extra psychic energy, go ahead and do so, and then you're essentially just doing 240, 260 overall. This is where the Malamars come in. Because once you get this going with the Malamars, you just refresh with the Malamars, and then you just keep attacking again, spamming the attack over and over and over again. So it is pretty nuts. Now the GX attack, this attack can only be used if there are 6 or less total prize cards remaining in play. So essentially at most, you need 3, your opponent has 3. Place 6 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. I feel like, was it the Vikavolt does 60 damage to all their Pokemon, or the Noivern or something like that? I feel like those GX attacks are better than this because you have that condition of, well, this attack can only be used if there's 6 or less prize cards. I guess maybe in the late game, if your opponent is setting up a whole bunch of like little baby Pokemon like Zoruas or Ralt or something like that, this would actually kind of come in nice, but I just don't see a lot of people focusing their time to use this GX. But I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. It's the Photon Geyser, which is a pretty nasty attack. Then we got another Eevee, another Bunnelby, Diggersby, Furfrou, Noibat, which our first colorless one, which is kind of neat. And I like this one because I think in expanded, if you do this with the Vileplume item lock, you're basically, you've just destroyed a friendship right there with your opponent. So for a double colorless energy, destructive sound, look at your opponent's hand, discard all item cards you find there, all of them. And if you play this with the Vileplume item lock, well, then you're just stacking up again and again and again all these items, and then you could just do one turn where you just switch, or you just keep spamming Noibat, because right, that Vileplume item lock only has to be on the bench, so you could just keep spamming this card and just get rid of all your opponent's item cards while they can't play them. I mean, that's just a dirty card. That's good for you, Noibat. Good for you. What else we got here? I think there's something to say about this card. Could do 140 with the confusion, but it's the Noibat I honestly think is much better than this Noivern. Alright, Uniporter, I don't know how to say it. Move a special energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon to one of their Pokemon. Reminds me of Magician's Circle a little bit, I think because of the color. That's kind of cool because let's say your opponent starts off with Buzzwole, there's a strong energy attached to it. Well, you can essentially just move that strong energy to a Pokemon that can't use it, like let's say an Octillery, or what else do they play with Buzzwole? Maybe a Garbodor, and that strong energy actually has to go away because it only works on fighting Pokemon, and if it's attached to anything else, it has to get discarded. So very kind of a cool little card if you can pull it off early on, but I think that's actually such a huge energy disrupting card, especially if you play it with Crushing Hammer. That's crazy now that I think about it. Fossil excavation map, identified fossil. So we've already got identified fossil. You get to play it as a basic. And then we have the fossil excavation map. Search your deck or discard pile for one identified fossil card, show it to your opponent and put it into your hand. If you search your deck, shuffle it. So kind of cool that you get to get those items early on. And it kind of helps thin out the deck too a little bit. So very nice. Reprints of rare candies, ultra balls, switches, Pokemon catchers, mystery treasure I think is new. Search your deck, or discard a card from your hand in order to play this card. Search your deck for a psychic or dragon Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. This is actually going to go very well in that Noltra Necrozma GX Malamar deck. So that way you can search for either or. So this is actually a good, in addition to like the Ultra Balls or whatever else you're going to play. So that way you can kind of get that deck going. So that's actually going to be a pretty strong deck now that I think about it. At least I think it's so in my terms. Yeah, I definitely have to keep an eye out for that. Reprint of Choice Band. Lady, search your deck for up to 4 basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Okay, so good for like Magnezones, so that way you can just kind of lay all those energy cards down. Yeah, this is a nice supporter card. I don't know what else much to say about it. It's definitely gonna help you out one way or another. But like I said, definitely for Magnezones, if you want to get like 4 metal or 4 lightning Magnezones out, you just put them straight down. Then you have Diantha. You can only play this card if one of your fairy Pokemon was knocked out, but then you get to choose 2 cards from your discard pile and put them into your hand. Very nice to have. Very nice recovery. Maybe get a rare candy and a Gardevoir and get another Gardevoir GX going on your turn. It does take a supporter, so you gotta have to keep in mind that you have everything else ready in play. Maybe an Octillery to draw into cards if needed. Reprint of Judge, which is nice. I know a lot of people like Judge. Both players shuffle their hands into their deck and then draw 4 cards. Reprint of Hau, just for the really, really budget decks. Lysander Prism Star. For each of your fire Pokemon in play, you put the same number of cards from your opponent's discard pile into the Lost Zone. Could get pretty nasty, especially if you get rid of their Pokemon or anything that they can recover with, like let's say, what am I looking for? Super Rod or Rescue Stretcher, or even that new the Diantha card. So some people will definitely play this in fire Pokemon, I think for sure. Bonnie, which basically lets you spam Zygarde GX's attack. So, and I've talked about that in that Zygarde video as well. So, Bonnie will definitely be played in that deck. Reprint of Lily, not the good art Lily, but a decent art of Lily. And here's Lysander Labs. So, I like the effect of it. Pokemon tools in play have no effect. So essentially, your opponent's choice bands or fighting Fury Belts, Wish Batons, whatever it is that they're using will have no effect whatsoever. But that also means your tools won't have an effect. So this is why I said the Pyroar only stops at 140. Because you could say, oh, well, let me put a choice band on it. It's 170, knocks out Lele. Well, no, because it only does the extra damage if Lysander's Lab's in play, and this card says your tools have no effect, so you can't do that 170. So it's nice, you know, so that way you're messing up your opponent, but then you're also messing yourself up. So you have to be very careful on how you play this. And 100, well, what is it? Pyroar does 140. Not a lot of Pokemon, not a lot of GX Pokemon. Actually, there's no GX Pokemon at 140 HP. So I don't know, unless you do Steam Up with Volcanion, I guess you could do, but it's very situational. Reprint of Double Colorless Energy. We get our last unit energy. This time it provides a Fighting, Fairy, and a Dark energy. I have not seen a deck with one of these. I want someone to come out with a strong deck that has this unit energy, or maybe all the unit energies to it. And then finally we come down to our full arts, that beautiful Greninja full arts for each of these cards. Yveltal's awesome looking as well. Zygarde's pretty dope. He looks like Voltron a little bit there, or some sort of like Megazord or something. Xerneas, very nice stance. Ultra Necrozma even looks pretty cool. I like how he's this huge beast and they can't fit all of him into a card. I know I could say the same thing with him and his antlers, but he just looks like he's just overcrowding this space already. It's just I like it. The full arts, which have been awesome for the Sun and Moon era. Bonnie looks cool. And then you have your hyper rares, which actually look a lot better, but then again, I've mentioned before on one of my other videos that I'm not a fan of the hyper rares, and these look nice, but I think it just might be the way the light hits them or something. So very cool there. And then you have your secret rares, the Porter, the mystery treasure, and then the unit energy, of course, as well. So that's it as far as the Forbidden Light Japanese expansion goes. And like I said, our American version is going to be a combination of this as well as the Ultra Force that they had already released, which is basically mostly a reprint of old cards, just alternate typing. So let me go through this really quick. So we have the Grottos, Snovers. We've had this Snover already as a water Pokemon, but now we have it as a grass Pokemon. And its ability accelerates grass energy, not water energy this time. So again, alternate prints. Heatran we've had as a metal, now it's a fire type. Palkia was a dragon, now we have it as a water type. What else we got here? Araquanid, I think we already had this as a grass, so now it's a water. There's the Magnezone, same ability, but it's lightning energy because it's a lightning Pokemon this time around. Oh, we do have a non-GX Xurkitree. So for 2 lightning, 1 colorless, Cable Ram, 100 damage. If you have 3 prize cards remaining, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So this is actually good for a late game for your lightning deck, just because if you can spam that paralysis, that's awesome. Your opponent can't really do much with that, but you have to make sure that you have only those 3 prize cards remaining. So obviously you can't spam it for too long. What else we got here? We have Uxie. Oh, we have this Rotom now as a psychic. It was electric, and I think this is the last typing that we needed. Then we have your three little spirits here. I'm not too familiar with the lore on these guys. So you have Uxie, Mesprit, and then Azelf. Each, I think, kind of play off each other, but overall just not very strong together. I think there was previous versions of these cards that were much stronger in the meta long ago, but as of right now, not that great. A non-GX Dawnwing's Necrozma. So 20 damage. If you have 6 prize cards remaining, this attack does 20 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Outrage times 2, basically. So what, 120? If there's 120 damage counters on you, then essentially you're going to be doing, what, 240, 260 to knock out just about anything. Kind of cool. Its other attack is nothing that great. 130 damage for 3 Psychic, but then you have to discard 2 energy from that Pokemon. Then we have the Ganadol GX. I don't think we talked about this one yet. So for 1 colorless energy, you do an attack called Beast Ride. This attack does 20 damage for each Ultra Beast you have in play. So if you have 6 Ultra Beasts in play, you're doing 120 damage, which is pretty nuts for 1 energy. So very good. 1 Psychic, double colorless, 110, not affected by resistance. Very bad. You're hitting Psychic, it's a good weakness, so you can't even hit Buzzwole with this attack because then, well, they just wait. I'm thinking that wrong. So this attack's damage isn't affected by resistance. I was thinking weakness. Wow. Okay. Forget everything I just said. I don't know why I just thought the other way around. So so this is actually very good. I mean, with weakness, you're doing 220 damage. Even if your Pokemon is resistant to Psychic, it doesn't matter. It'll still do at least 110 damage. So very good. What Pokemon are resistant to Psychic? Is it Metal Pokemon? I can't remember. Dark Pokemon, I think some of them are. And then you have this interesting GX attack, 3 colorless, Stinger GX. Each player shuffles their prize cards into their deck. Then each player takes 3 cards from the top of their deck and puts them face down as their prize cards. So this could go one of 2 ways. You can do this early on and just reset everyone at a lower prize card take. Or you can do this late in the game when maybe like your opponent only has 1 prize card left, but then you still have like 5 prize cards to go. Well, then just reset everyone and put them on an even playing field and just take 3 and 3. So very kind of good and interesting GX attack. I wonder how many people or how people are going to be using that as part of their strategy though. Torterra, so here's where all the alternate typing comes in. Torterra was a grass, now we have it as a fighting. Infernape was a fire, now we have it as a fighting. And then we have your entire Garchomp line as fighting types. We have Lucario GX. I did a video on this guy. Has very good attacks. Very good overall GX Pokemon card. Croagunk and Toxicroak we've had as poison types. Now they're fighting. Buzzwole. Oh, another non-GX Ultra Beast. Sledgehammer, 30 plus damage. If your opponent has 4 prize cards remaining, this attack does 90 more damage. So 120 for 1 energy is pretty good. Swing Around, 80 plus damage. Flip 2 coins. This attack does 20 more damage for each heads. I just thought of something. What if all of those unit energies are for these Ultra Beasts? These non-GX Ultra Beasts. I'm going to have to go back and take a look at that. Because that might be what all these unit energies are for. Because if you go back and look at all these non-GX Ultra Beasts, they have very specific prize card conditions. So once you're done with this, you know, you do the KO, now you have either 3 or 2 prize cards, right? But then there's another GX card that says that if you have this many prize cards, like 3 or 2, then you get to do this. So that's interesting. I just never really realized that until just now. So something to kind of go back and take a look at if you have the time for that. Empoleon we had as a water, now as a metal type. Kind of cool. Dialga is now a metal type as well. We do have another Ultra Beast non-GX, Duskmane. Dawn Dagger, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon EX or Pokemon GX. This attack does 60 damage to that Pokemon. So I guess a nice little snipe, especially if you want to snipe out the little baby Pokemon like the Ralts and Zaruas. And then Rusty Nail, 100 plus damage. Your opponent has 1 prize card remaining. This attack does 100 more damage. Okay, very nice. Arceus Prism Star. Oh, there was something special about this one. Prevent all effects of your opponent's attacks done to this Pokemon. Okay, so no you can't. Okay, so excluding damage, but you still have to. You still take the damage, but just no effects. Okay. Oh, the attack. That's it. Trinity Star, 30 damage. You can only use this attack if you have a grass, water, and lightning Pokemon on your bench. Search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. That's kind of a really cool card. Works really well with the Tapu Bulu because you have your grass, you have your lightning, and then sometimes people play artillery, so there's your water. A lot of decks play water, so or play artillery. So, and I'm just curious as to who would be your, main fighter then if you have a grass, water, and lightning deck combination like that. I'm just curious as to who would you charge up, because for 3 basic energy cards it'd be just accelerated that way. That's actually really, really nice, and it's only 1 colorless energy to do it. So I think this will definitely see some play in some decks. Reprint of Aqua Patch. Reprint of Crushing Hammer, Super Scoop Up, Beast Reading's a beast. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy, reveal them, and attach them to one of your Ultra Beast Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. Oh, you can only play this card when your opponent has 3 or 4 prize cards remaining too. So I can kind of see, I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of overwhelmed with all these Ultra Beasts and things. But I can kind of see a Naganadel, Buzzwole, Xurkitree deck kind of going on. It's because Naganadel GX, you reset everything to 3 prize cards. And then usually Buzzwole's attack is 4 prize cards, I think. Xurkitree's attack is 3. I don't know. It's just crazy. But to be accelerating 2 basic energy cards that way is pretty awesome. So definitely something to keep in mind when you're playing an Ultra Beast deck. Steel Frying Pan. Yep, you read that right. A Steel Frying Pan. The metal Pokemon this card is attached to takes 30 less damage from attacks and has no weakness. It's one thing to get rid of weakness, but to also put in the fact that you can take 30 less damage is nuts. So kind of a fun little card to play around with. Choice Band, we already saw. Ultra Recon Squad. Discard 2 Ultra Beast from your hand, then draw 3 cards for each card you discarded this way. So essentially you can draw up to 6. It's a nice draw support, especially if you're playing a strictly Ultra Beast deck. Something definitely to keep in mind. Looker, again. Wake, I think we haven't gotten this one yet. Search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Of course, you have to discard 2 water energies to do that, but it's kind of nice, especially if you can just well, you could essentially just search for 2 Aqua Patches, so that way you can kind of accelerate 3 energies that turn. Or you could search out for 2 Pokemon and then hopefully draw into some Aqua Patches so you can get that set up. I think it's a very nice card. Definitely a 1 or 2 of at the very least in many water decks to be put in. Ultra Space. Once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for an Ultra Beast, reveal it, and put it in their hand, then that player shuffles their deck. So basically like a Brooklet Hill, but for Ultra Beast. Beast Energy Prism Star is also pretty awesome. When this card is attached to an Ultra Beast, it provides every type of energy, but provides only 1 energy at a time. This attack that the Ultra Beast this card is attached to also does 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. That's a pretty nutso attack, especially if you combine that with Choice Band, so essentially you're adding 60 onto your attacks. So let's think of Buzzwole. You play Buzzwole, that does what, 30 base damage with the Choice Band and with the Beast Energy, that's 60, so 60 plus the 30, that's 90 damage. And then you add the Diancie, which is 110 to the front and then 30 to the back. That is ridiculous, but that's why this is a Prism Star, which means once it's gone, can't bring it back. And then reprints of your unit energies, and then we get to the full arts, the Palkia GX, Naganadel, very small, Lucario GX full art, the Dialga, Ultra Recon Squad, Wake, Palkia Hyper Rare, Naganadel Hyper Rare, Lucario Hyper Rare, Dialga, and then your secret rares, Energy Recycler, Beast Ring, which is actually looks really cool, and then of course the Steel Frying Pan, probably the most expensive card that's gonna come out of this set. No, I hope not. If that does, I've lost all hope for all mankind. But yeah, that's essentially the Ultra Force expansion. That's gonna come with our Forbidden Light expansion. It's just a bunch of alternate art reprints. I doubt a lot of these are gonna get included. I'm pretty sure just gonna throw in the stage 2s or stage 1s or whatever that card is. It would make no sense for them to have to reprint all this again and throw it into an expansion that we just had in our last expansion. But that's pretty much it, guys. Those are just some of my first thoughts. If I have the time between now and when our English set gets revealed, maybe I'll kind of think of deck ideas and whatnot. But I just wanted to kind of throw in my first thoughts of the expansion. Overall, I think I very much like it. Maybe I'm biased towards the Greninja. I don't know, but I think this does a lot of this pushes a lot of creative thinking for Ultra Beast decks for sure. Just like I brought up, you know, all those different non-GX Ultra Beasts that we have come into play, and then if you want to go for fighting focus heavy, you have your Zygarde, which is definitely something to keep an eye out for. And it brings us a lot of nice little tech cards too that people might consider adding into their deck. So overall, I think this is going to be a good set. I don't think it's gonna be. It's not. I don't think it's gonna have any cards gonna be like over the top expensive. But you know, we'll find out once, since Japan has it released already. You know, we'll see if any decks come out of it, and then that kind of decide what will be the go-to cards when this set comes out for us here in America. So that's about it, guys. Thank you very much for watching, for listening in. If you have any, you know, comments or disagree with anything I said, you know, feel free to leave it down below in the comments. I'm more than welcome, more than happy to welcome all that, you know, input, advice, perspective, and things like that. Because maybe you guys saw something that I didn't, or you know, it's always nice to know that if I had a good idea, it's reinforced. It's like, oh yeah, I thought of that too. You know, the more the merrier. Alright, anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.